Hi, welcome to Threadhead TV. This is Jude Bell, and today's project is a giant beach bag that is sturdy, has some special details, and is big enough to hold towels for your whole family. I used 2 yards of fabric plus 2 yards of coordinating lining fabric, along with 2 yards of really stiff interfacing. Start by determining the size you want your bag by cutting out the bottom piece of your bag. This can be a rectangle, and then you can round out the corners by folding it in force and cut all those corners at the same time. To add that haute couture detail, I wanted piping around the bottom of my bag, and this would also afford it some extra structure. You can buy already made piping, or if you want a tutorial on how to make your own piping, I'll put a link below to my pillow tutorial. The next step is cutting your side pieces. Measure all the way around the perimeter of your bottom piece, and in my case it would be around the perimeter of the piping. And then add 1 inch for seam allowances. Then divide that by 2 because you're going to be cutting 2 pieces, 2 lining pieces and 2 outer pieces. My pieces were 36 inches wide by 20 inches tall. And then my lining piece is going to be 16 inches tall, 36 inches wide, because another haute couture detail is that my outer fabric will fold down a little bit on the inside, as pictured here. If your lining meets the outside of the bag up at the top rather than down the bag a few inches, it just doesn't look as professional. Pictured here is the inside of my bag where I'm showing you some extra lining that was a little bit bulky. So I would shave off about an extra inch on the bottom rectangle, inside rectangle, and also on the lining sides, because you don't need as much fabric as you're going to need around the outside, and that will reduce some of these rumples. I could have, cut it off, resewn it, but it's on the inside, so I didn't care that much about it. The important thing for me was that it looks perfect on the outside, which it does. However, true haute couture would look perfect on the inside lining as well. Close enough, right? Next, you will take your lining pieces, face them together, and sew both side seams, and you will do the same for your outside pieces. Right sides facing, but sew only one side of your outside pieces. Leave the other side open for now. Your next step is taking your outside bottom and your outside side pieces and sewing these together. Right sides together, and start by pinning the center of this seam to the center of one of the side bottoms. So we've pinned around this corner. We're going to keep going. But remember, this side is open because we weren't sure if it was an exact match. So we're going to pin around this side, and then we'll see where it matches. We've changed out the presser foot to a zipper foot, and now we're going to change the needle. And it looks like this when we change the needle, so that it doesn't hit the foot right there. Now when we position the foot, we're going to feel around for the piping that's in there. We're going to try to get that foot up against the piping all the way around. And I'm going to set my needle down so that if I ever need to lift my foot to get these pins out, my sewing line won't jump. Right up against that piping, as tightly as we can get it. And I'm looking only through the camera and not at my sewing. So to do this corner, I think I'm going to have to turn the camera off. I'm going to sew as tightly, feeling my way along this piping. Oh, and here's where the piping crosses over. So it might be a little hard to get over. Okay, so I got around that corner just fine. Now if I need to go back
and sew a second line around that corner that's tighter into my piping, I can do that. We'll turn it right side out and see what it looks like, especially the corner where the two piping ends meet. We'll look at that later. But for now, we'll just keep this line as tightly against that piping as we can.
This is the width of surplus that I had on my outside pieces where the open seams met. So I'm going to cut this same width off of my lining pieces. The step that I did not video nor take a picture of is sewing up the side seam that was left open, but it's pretty self-explanatory. After cutting off the surplus that you don't need, being sure to leave 5/8 inch seam allowances, you match up side seams, right sides together, and sew it up. And at this point, it's not that hard to get your bag underneath your foot where the side meets the bottom. Even though the piping creates some bulk in that area, it's possible to just get it all underneath the sewing machine and sew up that side seam.
Turn this one right side out, the lining. Turn the outside inside out. And then we're going to put this tube inside of this one, pin, and sew all the way around the perimeter of the top.
So at this point you may need to re-sew the one side seam of the lining if you shave some length off. Once you've done that, you match your side seams, right sides facing each other, and pin. And sew using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Here I'm showing you how goofy my inside bottom looks, but it doesn't matter. I used partly foam board because I had this narrow piece of foam board that was really stiff. It was going to make my bottom strong. And from there I taped on just random cardboard that I had. Then I used an X-Acto knife to make the shape meet the exact size of the inside lining, which I ended up cutting a little bit smaller than my outside lining. The next step is to sew the inside bottom lining piece to the inside lining. So you will turn your bag inside out to do this and pin it in the same manner that you pinned the outside, but leaving an opening through which you can turn the bag right side out when you're done, and through which you can put the cardboard through for the bottom of the bag and also the interfacing. So it's a little bit trickier than the outside lining because you have more bag that you're dealing with. It's a nearly constructed bag, but don't have to be as careful about it, in my opinion, because it's on the inside, so we're not going to worry too much about how neat it is. Then after that, you can insert your stiff interfacing. This step is made a little bit easier because I made a good hard crease around the top of the bag with my iron.
Put some tape on here so that I don't have to look closely. You can just tell quickly all the way around, measuring when I ironed. And then I've pinned all the way around, and I'm going to sew probably just a 1/4 inch from the edge. I'm going to top stitch all the way around just to hold the interfacing in place. And then I also have to pin the opening shut, and I'm going to just do a top stitch along this edge. Now you can see that where I've pinned, there's a bunch of gathers because the bottom is longer a little bit than the top. I'm not going to worry about it because it's on the inside of the bag. I'm going to have beach towels in here and clothes, and it's not going to show. The outside looks perfect.
On to making the handles.
my strip is about 5 inches wide, and to make it long enough I had to piece it in the middle, but that's okay.
And each handle measured about 44 inches long after piecing together. Fold your strip in half lengthwise, put the needle in the down position so that you can pivot the corners, and then I'm going to start my sewing near the middle, but I'm going to leave my opening to turn this right side out in the middle.
So I've sewn all along here. I trimmed the corners to here. Left a big opening in the middle of the strap, and then sew here and here, and this way I just think I'm going to get nice clean edges here. And we'll turn it right side out and turn these edges under.
For best results for the handle, you will also cut a strip of interfacing that will go inside the handle. So it has to be narrower than this handle, and you will slip it inside. It's stiff enough that you can work it in on its own from the middle. Then top stitch one side in order to close up the opening. And I went ahead and top stitched the whole length of the strip.
Okay, so I put a pin right in the center of the panel, and then I'm gonna put this as my line here, and I just want to match it over here, which is good. So now I know that my straps are right in the middle. Yeah, I'm gonna set it on 3, and then I'm gonna make a box at the top and a box at the bottom. Square. Turn it this way, and then go backwards.
This is where it gets tricky to get the whole bag under the sewing machine foot because of how stiff and bulky the interfacing is. But with some wrestling, it can be done.
Here's the deal. If it's really too far down for me to get, if the strap ended like here, no problem. But the strap is ending so low that I'm having a very hard time getting all this bulkiness under here. But we're gonna have to figure it out.
It actually worked best to back my way into it by using the reverse stitch. It is so satisfying to work hard on a bag and have it turn out so beautifully, wouldn't you agree? So tell me in the comments below what's been your best ever DIY bag project. I want to hear about it. For me, it's a toss-up between this beach bag and my malachite bucket bag that I made for Instructables, which I haven't yet made a video for. If you're interested in a video, let me know. Otherwise, you can find it on Instructables.com under Threadhead Jude. Thank you for joining me on Threadhead TV. This is Jude Bell. I hope you'll come on back for more great projects. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate your support.